What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to episode 35 of our Liverpool FC playthrough here in Football Manager 2016. Hopefully you guys are good. Today it's a double header. We've got two big games against Manchester City and Chelsea. We're going to be doing them for kind of a mini special episode, I guess. With it being episode 35, it feels like a landmark of sorts. As you can see on screen here, I thought we'd start by just looking at the manager profile screen. It's not a screen that I've really showed during this save, so I thought we'd just take a quick look at it. There's nothing particularly interesting going on, if I'm honest. If we look at information, well, you can see all my information, and I guess most interesting of all would be the history page, where you can kind of see my wins, losses, kind of profit made from selling players and such. Which kind of isn't too bad, actually, when I look at this. 65% win percentage is pretty decent. Highest fee received, 74 million for Emre Can. In terms of our net spend, I guess, across our 2.5 years, it totals just over £120 million. We've not had a single day on holiday, which is always nice to see, and we've almost earned £10 million. We are rolling in the money as manager. Anyway, today is a kind of special episode, as I mentioned, but there are games to talk about since the last episode, which of course was against Tottenham, and we won 4-1 in that game. It was a great result. As you can see, a lot of green, a lot of wins. It's been a pretty pleasing run of form. We've played 9 games in total, and we've won 8 of them, which is pretty decent. So anyway, let's look at the first one, which was the last Champions League game, and we beat Barcelona away. Now, I didn't live com this game because there wasn't too much kind of, I guess, riding on it, but we performed amazingly. To put it simply, we played a pretty rotated team too. You can see we had Coutinho, Henderson on the bench. Didn't start Lacazette because he wasn't 100% fit. He wasn't even on the bench. We didn't play Sturridge because he was injured. And we won, and it was a great performance. As you can see, we probably got a little bit lucky, but you have to ride your luck. We defended well, we got the goal, and that was pretty pleasing. Looking at the Champions League, you can see we are going to be taking on Dortmund in the first knockout round too as a result of that win. Anyway, the next result was a 3-0 win against West Ham. Really convincing performance. Richardly Bazor really kind of coming out of his shell now in this season. He's been performing great. As you can see here, he's made 17 appearances and got a 7.09 average rating, but he's got some pretty big goals for us, and in recent times he's been in some pretty good form. Interesting thing about this, and this is I guess a recurring theme this episode, which I'll talk about, I guess, after the fixtures. We've had a lot of transfer bids come in and a lot that I've rejected, and this guy almost went. If we look at his contract here, you'll see he has a release clause of £51 million. He's just signed a new deal. Originally, his old release clause was £42 million. PSG matched that. I was panicking. There was red kind of panic alarms or panic lighting, you know, like it was like a nuclear kind of power plant going into meltdown in my head. There was sirens wailing, there were red lights flashing. I was panicking because I didn't want to lose this guy, so I had to go and offer him a new contract. Unfortunately, his agent was a greedy arsehole and wanted £115,000 a week, and I had to pay that, and that was only going to increase his minimum release clause by £10 million. Now, fortunately, he signed that new deal. I hope to get him on a new contract by the end of the season without a massive pay rise, but one that sees us get rid of that clause, because I hate minimum release clauses, and £51 million is not going to stop PSG getting him if they really want him. But there are a few other transfer bids like that, as I mentioned, we'll talk about in a second. Anyway, the next result was a win in the Merseyside derby. As you can see, Funes Mori sent off very, very early on. Henderson got the key goal for us, and that was all she wrote for that game. It was just a good performance, solid. The next game, 4-1, much of the same. Another win, this time Mario Götze getting 4. It was a pretty impressive performance. Having gone in at the break 1-1, part of me was a little bit concerned, but in the second half, Mario Götze really stepped up. Of course, joined us on a free this year, the German, 25 years old. You can see valued at £33.5 million. And he's been a great player for us so far this year. 10 goals, 5 assists, 7.39 average rating. And he's got some key goals and some key assists for us, which really have, I guess, kept us up at the top of the table throughout this run of results. Anyway, the next game was against Crystal Palace. This was another good win. As you can see, Joe Gomez and Coutinho getting the goals. Coutinho, another player who's had a transfer bid. I rejected it. This was a really tough one to do, though. Bayern Munich offered £60 million. But I see Coutinho as irreplaceable at the moment. Maybe in a few years with some of our younger players coming through, £60 million, I'd just take the money and run. But right now, he's our best player in our team, really. Certainly one of the best. This year, he's not at the best of seasons, but he has been injured a little bit. for a few months, but when he's fit, he's very good for us, and for that reason I wanted to keep hold of him. The next result, another clean sheet, another 2-0 win. Coutinho and Lacazette getting the goals. Lacazette continuing his goal scoring run. Granted, this was from the penalty spot. Of course, he did get 2 last episode. Was it last episode he got 2? It was last episode he got 2. I was getting worried if that was the Napoli game or if it was the Tottenham game, but it was that game. So yeah, good to see him continue scoring. The next result was against Aston Villa. It was another 2-0 win, the third one in a row, another clean sheet. And as you can see here, Firmino getting a goal. I want to show this goal because it was pretty nice. If I've remembered the right goal, that is. If I've not, then this is suddenly going to be really embarrassing. And I now have a feeling, watching this highlight, I've remembered the wrong goal. But we'll just quickly change it to close to. We might as well watch it in 3D because this is the goal. This was a really nice one though. When this flew in, it's one of those goals that gets you up off your desk chair really when it goes in. It was a pretty decent goal. But it came from a Goetze assist, switches over to Firmino, who takes a touch and then just hits it in from about 25 yards. I was enjoying that goal though. When that flew in to give us a 1-0 lead, I was pretty happy because this was a pretty, I guess, important game. And then Fred, you're going, who the hell is Fred? Who scored this penalty? Well, I'll tell you who Fred is. It's actually Jorge or George. Decided to nickname him Fred after last episode because I said that I just wanted to call him a normal name, and well, it works, doesn't it? You can see here, looking at him, he's played a few games for us because Moreno's currently out injured. He twisted his ankle, I believe, Moreno, so it's good to get this guy in. Of course, we signed him from Flamengo last episode, if you missed that. £10 million spent, really for a rotation player, that's quite a lot. But he's an absolutely fantastic kind of option to have at left-back. One of the best young left-backs I've ever seen in FM. From an attacking perspective, a player who we can throw on. He can also play out on the left wing, which again gives us a little bit of flexibility when it comes to our system and how we play. And he's just a very good defender. Not necessarily the best defensively. I mean, he has good marking and good tackling. But going forward, he's absolutely fantastic. Such a well-rounded fullback. And just really happy to have him at the club. And to get him for £10 million, yes, it's not particularly cheap, but he's going to be a rotation option for us really for the next 10 years plus if we want him to be. Anyway, there were 2 more games to tell you guys about. First one was in the FA Cup third round. Nothing too spectacular about this. We beat Walsall 3-1. Former player of mine, Tom Bradshaw, Hall of Famer, getting a good performance here. I'm trying to remember which save he was part of, and I really can't remember. I'm wondering if it was a save on YouTube or not. Either way, I had a save with this guy. I don't think it was was it the Lewis save? I'm going to be honest, a lot of my lower league saves all blur into one, but he's a player who I've used in the past. He's a very good player, but his 1 goal was not enough as we did run out winners. Anyway, you'll notice that the last result going into this game against Manchester City is a loss. Not good. 2-1. I got FM'd, really got FM'd this game. Look at those stats. Absolutely mental. A last-minute goal conceded as well. Embolo scoring in the first minute. I was delighted for him. I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be a walkover against Newcastle. You know, Bril Embolo scoring. It's going to be a good day. Wasn't to be. Rodrigo getting 2 goals. Newcastle having 2 shots on target all game. I was just shaking my head, sobbing a little bit as I saw this happen. It was annoying. And, yeah, very disappointing to lose that game 2-1. So as you can tell, we've won a lot of games, been in pretty good form. Most of those games, though, were fairly easy. A little bit disappointed by the Newcastle result. You can see now the league table, we are 6 points clear of Arsenal, but we have got a tough run of games coming in. We've got Arsenal, Man City and Chelsea to play in our next 4 kind of league games. So these are going to be really big games for us. As you can see, we're 6 points clear of Arsenal, who have struggled of late. If we look at their form, you can see they drew against Man City. They lost 4-2 against Aston Villa, lost against Crystal Palace. They drew against Villa as well. So yeah, they've had better times. That loss against Villa was in the FA Cup. But regardless, it's not been the best time for them, and we've capitalised on that and pulled away, which is pretty pleasing. Tottenham as well, they've not been in the best run of form. They are 8 points behind us. As you can see, they've drawn and lost in their last 5 games. Their poor results kind of came a little bit before that. And also looking at Man City, who we play today, well, they've had better days, it's fair to say. They've been struggling in the league. 4 games without a win. Granted, they have played Chelsea and Arsenal in that time, so perhaps we can't look at that too much. But there's a pretty good time to play this team, and I think it's now ready for us. We couldn't be asking for a better time to be taking on Man City. So as I mentioned, there's a few things been going on in terms of transfers, a few transfer bids rejected and all that jazz. Bazor, we almost lost to PSG. Coutinho rejected a very, very hefty offer from Bayern Munich for him. Elsewhere, Cataldi had a bid from PSG rejected. That was a £25 million bid, I think. I decided to keep hold of him because I think this Italian has lots to give us yet. Obviously, we would have recouped what we paid for him, which, given his kind of performances so far, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But I think this guy's got, time to develop. He's got time to prove that he was worth the money. So I want to stick with him. We've also had Rudiger have a few bids, but they've not been more than £10 million. And as you can see, he's valued at 9.25. I see him as a vital rotation player for us, so I don't intend to sell him. And he's also got good determination, which makes him good for tutoring, low wages, and he's happy to be a backup player, which for a centre-back of his quality, is quite pleasing to have a player who's quite content to sit on the bench. But anyway, looking at the team stats, you can see here we have been struggling for goals still, but Daniel Sturridge soon to be back in the side. 5 days until he'll be fit. He'll be back for the second game of this episode against Chelsea. Gabriel Barbosa also been struggling, of course, but he's back in 6 days. So with the exception of those two, I think we're going to have pretty much a full-strength team, except, of course, Moreno, who twisted his ankle. He won't be back for the Chelsea game, I don't think. Fortunately, of course, we have now got Fred, the left-back, so that problem is solved there. I have got a little bit of money to spend. As you guys will know, it's been a bit of a weird season, because if we look at our transfer history, we, of course, made a lot of money in sales initially. Following on from that, we were left with a big kind of balance and a load of money in the bank, and then we were given some money by the kind of board because our financial situation was so good. So I spent that again, and now I have more money to spend. And the reason I have more money to spend is because I've kind of put my head a little bit on the chopping block here. You'll see we have almost £500,000 wage budget and £20 million transfer budget. If we look at our finances here, you'll actually see we're 14 million in the red. But the reason that we've got that money to spend is because I made a very big promise. What's that promise, you ask? Well, that promise is to win the Premier League. I've told the board that I think that's what we can do. I do think that's what we can do, but it's going to be a challenge, and I hope I'm not going to regret it. I, of course, have a lot of money to spend here. If we were to rejig these budgets around, which we certainly could do, we've got probably around £40 million to spend on a big landmark signing. I'm kind of looking at my options. It seems silly now, having got that money, not to spend it to ensure that we win the league. I'm leaning towards maybe bringing in a striker. The reason for that being is that if you look at our team, we've been lacking goals really. Although we've been doing very well in the league in terms of goal scoring, the likes of Lacazette and Sturridge have not been bagging in quite as many goals as I'd like. I mean, if we look at the Premier League here and look at it in detail, you'll see that we have scored 53 goals, which is pretty impressive, and as you can see, that is the most in the league. But I don't feel like we've had one goal scorer banging in a load. And I love Lacazette and I love Sturridge, but it'd be nice to have a third striker who's really capable of scoring for fun. So I'm going to see what I can do with £40 million to get the kind of player I'd love to get. We might struggle a little bit with the money, but we'll see what's available. I'm probably going to look to spend that money. I don't really want to invest it in more youngsters because, I mean, if you look at our under-21s at this point, the amount of talent we have at this point is just getting a little bit silly. Like, not that that's a bad thing, but when you look at the players who have 4-star potential or above, a lot of these players have black star 5 potential, which is kind of your uncertainty. These players are all capable of being incredible first-team players for us in the next kind of 5-6 years. I don't need that many more younger players. I mean, look at the centre-back position. We've got that nailed down. Maybe a right-back would be nice, although we have got Safadi, the South African, who's kind of been out on loan and now has got a work permit. So we have got options. I feel like one episode, and it might be in the end-of-season review, actually. I think that'll be a better time to do it. I'm going to go through all of our youth prospects in some detail and kind of outline my expectations from them. But, I mean, you look at that list, that's a lot of players to have who are kind of really ready and raring to go, I guess, in a few years. So I don't think it's necessary. Maybe a striker might be the best way to go. We do have a few striker prospects, but getting one more incredible striker wouldn't be the worst thing. Although I think it's Reinders here. He might be first team ready next year. He might be. He's 18. He's scored 11 under 21 goals in 12 games. Got to keep an eye out on him. You can see he's been on loan this year. He's actually got 8 goals in 16. His form has kind of dropped off a little bit in the I can't even say that. I'm just going to call it the Dutch Premier League. I'm sorry. It's the Eredivisie. I can't say it. I don't know what. You guys who have watched my channel for ages will know. Just can't do pronunciations. I can't even say names. So trying to get me to say a foreign league is going to be a struggle. I barely speak English at times. But yeah. I have money to spend is what I'm trying to say, and I need to work out where I want to spend it. but I definitely want to spend it if possible because I've changed my expectations and that money's there to try and help us win the league, and I want to win the league. And that money's going to help. I think we got there eventually. That was a very long-winded way of saying what I wanted to say. But yeah, if we look at the fixtures, we of course have Man City we're playing today. We've then got the Chelsea game, which is also going to be this episode. I'm going to cut between those games because 10 days is quite a long time. There isn't anything interesting going to be going on in the meantime except me sifting through probably hundreds of strikers and potential signings, looking for signings. So yeah, let's select our team for today's game. I believe I've already got it set up, which is excellent stuff. We're taking on Man City here. This is the team I'm going to go with. Mignolet in goal. He's back from his broken arm. He's match fit. He's raring to go with the Belgium. Delighted to have him back. At left back we go with Fred. Of course, Moreno out with a twisted ankle, so we go with this guy, but he's great going forward. Looking forward to seeing how he can get on today. Scored on his debut from the penalty spot. At defence, we go with Sacco and Zuma, just the kind of usual pairing there. Those two guys having an absolutely fantastic season at the moment. Nathaniel Klein starts at right back. He has just been a staple of our first team again this year. You can see a 7.43 average rating is absolutely superb. In midfield, we go with Henderson, Bazor and Coutinho. Coutinho dropping into this slightly deeper role that he's kind of going to be playing, I think, when our team's at full strength because of Goetze, kind of playing as that trequartista. We then, as I mentioned, go with Goetze playing the trequartista role. And up front, we go with Lacazette, who this year hasn't been in kind of the craziest goal-scoring form, but has certainly been contributing. And alongside him, we go with Breel Embolo, who is the Swiss international, who's doing great. You can see at international level, 17 goals in 21 games. And if we look at him in the league, he's been banging in some goals. He's not been too shabby. I mean, 4 goals in 7 games could be better, but for a 20-year-old, that's not too bad a contribution by any means. So yeah, we're going to submit our team here. As I mentioned, Man City not won in 4 games. So this is a pretty good time to be playing them. They are 4th in the league, of course, 10 points behind us. I hope that we can do well. We'll kind of just see how things go, I think, with this game. Interesting to see them playing Aguero behind Negredo. They've got Douglas Costa and Sterling at the left and right-hand side of midfield. They go with Coke. Is it Koke or Coke? Answers on the postcard. And Yaya Toure at centre mid. So that's quite an attacking team. We might be able to find some space. Goetze should have some area to roam in here. We'll have to see how Yaya Toure sets up. I imagine he'll be the more defensive of the centre mids. Because Koke can't defend, I don't think. Maybe he can, Coke. We'll see. He's a pretty good all-rounded player, to be honest. City's side that they've constructed is pretty decent, but I have faith in our team with our current system. And yeah, I guess we'll get into today's game. I'm nervous, though, for this one. This is a pretty big game. I feel like there's a newfound pressure on us because of the fact that I've said I want to win the league this year. There is an air of expectation, I guess, on our shoulders, and we've got some big games coming up. This is one of them. And it's expectations which are pretty big, but I do think we can match if we play our best, and we've conceded after 18 seconds. Well, oh dear. That was bound to happen, wasn't it? It's not the best start there, boys. Talking about the pressure that's a little bit on me now. I've said that we're going to win the league, and we concede after 20 seconds. Of course, I'm not going to get too demoralised by that. I think we've conceded something like 15 goals in 20 games. I guess this would make it 16 in 21. We've been very, very good defensively. It might be a slightly different record now I think about it. I think we've played a few games since I last checked, but we have been very, very good defensively. But that wasn't very good defensively at all. To concede after 18 seconds like that is just not the start you want, is it? But looking at the stats here, not been many shots either way, although we are on the attack here. Okay, that's a very ambitious ball by Sacco. And now that terrifying attack that I mentioned that Man City have, bringing it forward. Although Fred, what a tackle on Mignolet there. Fred, he's not the best defensive fullback in the world, but he's incredible going forward. And I'm hoping we're going to see some of that as he will win the tackle there. Lacazette almost threaded through. We're applying some really high pressure. You can see us cutting out the passing lanes and forcing them to go long. And that's worked for us there. As now Coutinho to Embolo. Lacazette. That's a lovely goal. Great pressure. Force the long ball out. We cut out the passing lanes in the middle. Really limit the space. And then from there, we get the ball to Coutinho. And Bolo with a... Oh, what a flick that was. I want to watch that again. I'm sorry. We're going back. I love it, the new 3D. Some of the crazy passes you see here. But you'll see the pressing here. We mark up the men. Really not giving an easy pass. And I think it's Sacco here with just a towering header it was. But watch the pass by Embolo here. This is just fancy. This is what I love about the new animation. Oh, outside the foot. Who was that? I think that was Otamendi. It was. Otamendi absolutely rinsed there by Embolo. Lovely goal. I feel like we scored some really nice goals against Man City. The Coutinho one, I think it was in the first season, stands out as another really nice goal that I've seen in this kind of 2016 match engine in FM. But looking at the stats, not been too convincing since that goal, although we are on the attack here. City, though, going to break down the attack. But again, we're going to press high, force it back to Joe Hart. But City are finding some space out wide, and we have got to be wary of that. Costa and I think it's Sterling out on the left. They're pretty terrifying, and that's a great block. And wow, Mignolet with a fantastic save there. Looking at the stats, Man City certainly looking like the better of the two teams at the moment. Sterling heading over there, although actually apparently we headed it over for another corner. Can we defend? We can. Mignolet, good hands there. I don't know if I want to change the system. 20 minutes in, it's not looking too great for us in terms of the actual stats, in terms of, I guess, the fact that City are having so many shots at us. But I think that's largely down to kind of their threat out wide and the fact we play without wide men. The question is, do I want to change that? Maybe I do. Douglas Costa scores to make it 2-1. I'm just thinking about how I could change it if I wanted to change it. I'll tell you what I might do. I'm going to tell our fullbacks... Well, I'm going to change our fullbacks' duties to defend. And I'm also not going to look for the overlap quite so much. We'll see how we get on with that. That might kind of play against us a little bit, not having the overlap. But I think it's something to try. I want our fullbacks, sit a little bit deeper, kind of focus more on their defensive duties, and we're going to look to really exploit the middle a lot more rather than looking wide. We'll see how this goes. Costa, you can see he's moved into the channels there. Maybe dropping the fullbacks isn't going to solve that problem, although Mignolet with the save there. 32 minutes in though, City looking like the better of the two teams right now. It's been a rare kind of game for us to concede more than one. But City looking very much on top, and it's a weird situation this, because I've not really had too much of this year where there's, I guess, the pressure being applied to our goal and we're not showing too much going forward. It's going to be half time now. I'm going to tell the players that I'm not happy. I really want to get them fired up. Well, what more could you want there? That's a fantastic team talk. Not going to overcomplicate it anymore. Players fired up for this game. I don't think we have any bookings. We don't. So that's not too much of a risk either. There's nothing worse than kind of firing up your team, getting them raring to go for the second half, and then a player gets a second yellow immediately. But looking at it, City again on top. They've got a set piece here. Negredo, edge of the box. Mignolet, great save there. Puts it wide, although it's not great to see us having to defend like this. We will head that away though. I mean, of course, if we were to lose this game and the Chelsea game this episode, that could let Arsenal go ahead of us on goal difference. Which, I mean, the pressure would be on them, wouldn't it? I don't think we'll get sacked if we don't win the league. But it's a thought I'd rather not think about, if I'm honest. But 60 minutes in, it's still only 2-1. We're on the attack here. Lacazette, Fred, can he whip in a ball? He can't, but Bazor's there. Coutinho, looking for some space. He can hit them from there. Fred, Bazor again. This is nice. Goetze turns him. Coutinho, Goetze, saved. That was a chance. That was a really good chance too. Nice little interplay between Coutinho and Goetze down the middle, but unfortunately for us, passes kind of connected well, but the finish just wasn't there for us. What changes do I want to make? That's the next question. We've not had the best performance here by any means. We look average everywhere, which is kind of a problem because there's only so much you can change. I think I'm going to take off Goetze today and bring on Firmino. I think I'm also going to take off Bazor, who's struggling a little bit with his condition. I'm going to bring on Thiago Maia. I really like as our defensive midfielder, and the reason I like him is because he seems to always have a really high pass completion. I think his passing is only about 14, but because he has good composure and reasonable decisions, he's quite good at that centre mid role of really kind of spreading the play from side to side. But anyway, time is slipping away here. With 15 minutes left, I think we have got to now push our fullbacks on a little bit. So I'm going to change to complete wingbacks on support, which might leave us a little bit open, but as I mentioned, it's getting to that time of the game where we really do have to push for it. I'm also going to make a few other little changes. I'm going to kind of mix things up a fair bit here. I feel like we've got to go for it. We've got to commit a few more men forward, so that's what we're going to do here. We're going to move Coutinho up from his roaming playmaker role to kind of a more advanced role, and we're also going to stick Firmino up as kind of a third striker. Lacazette with a shot there. That was actually counted as a clear-cut chance. That was a very key block, probably going in. But alas, it didn't hit the back of the net. It wasn't a goal. We have to go again. We have to build from the back. There's 10 minutes left. I have one more change if I want it. The issue really being is I don't have masses of options and kind of, a ton of alternatives to what we're doing. I'm going to bring on Kovacic, I think, for Jordan Henderson, just to play that box-to-box midfielder role for the last 5 minutes. Let him have a run out and get forward for us. But we are chasing this game late on here. Do we switch to overload? We're switching to overload for the last minute. It never does anything going to overload. I've decided it's all a placebo. Unfortunately, I think that's going to mark full time. City are going to win this 2-1. It's been a pretty close game in the second half. We definitely upped our game. You can see we really improved, but it just wasn't enough. In the end, the game was already lost. We conceded 2, which is something we've rarely done this year. I mentioned earlier how I felt like we needed a striker. It's games like this one where we only score the 1, which made me think that we need more kind of attacking threats. There's been a few games this year where we've narrowly lost, and we've often narrowly lost because we've not taken the chances that came our way. You look at kind of our goal-scoring record. Yes, there's a few games where we score 3 or 4, but a lot of the time, it's only 2. Sometimes 1. I mean, not that that's a terrible goal-scoring record, but it could certainly be more in these games. Statistically, we have a lot more shots, we have a lot more chances, we just don't take enough of them. Anyway, I can't get too hooked up on that result. We'll just continue once and have a look at the league table as things stand after the fixtures today. Although, actually, it's Arsenal v Chelsea. We'll quickly see how that game pans out. Really need Chelsea to win that game if they could. Chelsea in 5th, so they're not an immediate title threat to us. As you can see, we are playing them in 10 days, of course, in the second game of this episode. So it'd be lovely if they could beat Arsenal for us. Everton got us a draw last time. Chelsea got us a loss. Excellent. Danny Welbeck with a hat-trick for Arsenal there. Yeah, not great. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go forward 10 days. We'll see how we get on against Chelsea. It's a big game for us. Hopefully we can win it. Otherwise, well, Arsenal have a real opportunity to leapfrog us. That just wouldn't be too great. Okay, guys, so we are back. It's match day here against Chelsea. But I guess the burning question in all of your minds is, Jack, where's the money going? Have you spent it? What's happening? So, here's the deal. I have a signing I might make, but it would be one of the most... Well, it probably would be the biggest transfer I've ever done in Football Manager. If we look at our transfers here, just to explain this a little bit. I sold Cataldi. Now, this might come as a bit of a shock, but I managed to get £40 million from PSG for him. Now, for a player who I paid £20 million for, made 20 first-team appearances and averaged about a 6.8 average rating in the league, that kind of money is crazy because he's 23. And I kind of saw this guy as maybe an alternative to Henderson. Someone who would really compete with Jordan Henderson. But you can see here, Henderson is just better than him, simply put. Not by a massive margin, but he is better than him. And to sell a player for £40 million is just, it's very difficult, especially when it's a player who's not played in the first team, to kind of turn down, I guess, that kind of money. You will also notice one other transfer out. I did loan out Andre Kubas. He's gone on loan to Benfica for the rest of the season. He's going to be a first-team player there, and that's going to help his development. I mean, if we just compare this guy to Cataldi definitely a better player. But I don't feel like Kubas is that far off, as odd as that might sound. They're very different players in some ways, but Andre Kubas is, well, I guess our alternative down the line, who looks like he could be a pretty decent box-to-box player. So, £40 million in the bank. You guys know I had a lot of money in the bank anyway. If we look here, that's £50 million plus £419,000 wage budget, which can be adjusted if we want to, well, assuming a player is going to be on about £200,000 if we were to go for a massive player. I mean, we can give ourselves £65 million. So, you're thinking, Jack, what's the deal? Well, here's the deal. I'm weighing up signing Dybala from Juventus for £94 million. Moment of silence there. Yeah, 94 million. might have gone a bit crazy here. The bid would be £40 million initially, with £45 million over 48 months. That would be about £1 million a month we're paying Juventus for 4 years. That's a lot of money. But at the same time, Paulo Dybala looks absolutely incredible. Now, I might try and renegotiate a slightly different deal with not so much paid over the future. But this guy, I don't know if he's worth £90 million, but he's 24. He's one of the best strikers in the world on this save. He's a world-class player. He's a very consistent performer, which is important to note because that means he always or more frequently plays to, his attributes. And he'd fit in perfectly with our system as a complete forward, simply put. I mean, we play with a complete forward support. You can see that's his best role. And you can just see everything bar his jumping reach is just perfect for this role. Now, £90 million might be too much. But I'd like to know what you guys think in the comments. Would you spend this money? Now, I do backlog these videos, as you guys will know. So the chances are I will have made a decision by the time you're leaving your comment. But I want to know, what would you do if you were me? Because we have the money to spend, and I need a striker, or at least I feel like a goal-scoring threat would be good, and this guy kind of ticks all the boxes. Let me know. It's a dilemma I'm still torturing myself with. The other option is Paul Pogba, who would be even cheaper. I mean, we don't really need a centre-mid, but it's hard to say no to Paul Pogba. So yeah, let me know what you think of my situation. Where would you be spending the money? Would you be getting Pogba for 60 odd million? Would you be willing to spend 90 million on Dybala for one of the best strikers in world football who's only 24? If we just look, so you guys know I was looking for a striker. I've been really looking for a striker. I've pretty much scoured every major striker at every major club. I've gone through all of these and weighed them up. Dybala's the one that I've kind of got my heart set on. I could get him in. I'm already negotiating a contract, but it's a lot of money. There's just alternatives here like Berardi, who just simply they just don't compare. I mean, if we just compare this guy to Dybala, it's very difficult to compare these two players because Dybala's just so much better. He's in a completely different league. But the thing is, do I want to spend £90 million? It's been torturing me because it's been 10 days since the last episode. I've been searching for this striker. The more I think about it, the more I think it's just a little bit mental. But I want to know what you guys think. I've rambled on about that for long enough. Let's get into today's Chelsea game. Daniel Sturridge is back and he's fit. He's not match fit, but we're going to play him. We're going to chance him. I feel like we have to. Moreno, unfortunately, not fully fit for today's game. He'll be back to full fitness in 2 days. So Fred is going to stay at left back. Elsewhere in the team, Henderson, Bazor and Coutinho are going to make up our midfield with Gertz up ahead. It's nice to see Lacazette, Sturridge and Gertz are kind of as a little triangle up top. It's weird because when I see these three players, I think to myself, do I really need Dybala? But then I remember the fact that, well, it's fairly infrequent that Sturridge stays fit. The other thing worth noting is Lacazette is wanted. Now, who's he wanted by? Monaco. Part of me in my mind is thinking, delay the Dybala deal. Bear in mind we're on the 30th of January here, so tomorrow is deadline day. But part of me wants to delay the Dybala deal, see how much I could get for Lacazette, maybe, and then maybe use that to subsidise the deal. Because we bought in Lacazette for £47 million, which in itself wasn't cheap. If I was to get £50 million for Lacazette, the Dybala deal just suddenly seems that little bit less mental. So that's something that I may be weighing up. I mean, if we compare Lacazette and Dybala, Dybala is in just a different league, simply put. He's an incredible player. I didn't quite realise how good he is this year in FM. But I mean, you just look at that comparison. He's just in like a league of his own, basically, and it's mad. And it's a deal that I'm seriously weighing up. He's pretty much better than Lacazette in every way. And he's consistent, which is important, of course. But anyway, I've rambled on long enough about my dilemma in my head. I'm sure I'm going to be torturing myself because I'm going to go to bed after this game. I'm going to go to bed and be sat in bed at night thinking about whether or not I should do this deal or not. And I'm going to come in the morning and then probably completely screw it up. Anyway, looking at the team today, we're at home against Chelsea. We need a win here, really. Otherwise, Arsenal will close the gap on us to goal difference and probably leapfrog us if they were to win their game in hand. You can see here they're playing Icardi, Van Ginkel, Hazard and Oscar. They're playing a deep 4-3-1, or 4-2-3-1 even. That would be 9 players they were playing, Jack, if they were playing a 4-3-1. But yeah, hopefully we can get a result here. I'm going to tell the players I expect nothing but a win. We've not been in the best run of form. I think this is 2 defeats in a row now against Newcastle and Man City. I don't think we've had 2 defeats in a row in the league this season. In fact, I know we haven't. We've only lost, I think, 4 games all year, and 2 of them have been back-to-back, which is really, really disappointing. So, today's the day. I'm hoping we can cut that out of our game. I'm hoping we can just dominate Chelsea from start to finish. As you saw by their tactic, they're playing pretty deep. It's quite apparent that they're going to sit back and try and hit us on the break. It's up to us to try and break them down and try and create some opportunities and take the ones that come our way. Daniel Sturridge, bit of a risk playing him today from the start. I'm hoping he can make a contribution, within the first 60 to kind of maybe even sooner minutes of the game, because he is going to have to come off. He's not going to be 100% fit. But yeah, we'll see how we get on. I can't help but feel as if, as I watch this game and watch us not scoring yet, part of me is thinking Dybala would have scored now. The thing is, I could spend 90 million on him and then he could be the worst player I've ever signed and it could be a complete mare. But on the flip side, he just looks so good on paper. But anyway, we've got a chance here. Free kick not initially cleared. Mario Götze scores. Please don't be offside. He's not offside. That's his 11th goal of the game. He's looking like a fantastic player who we picked up on a free. He's been superb for us here. Mario Götze getting a goal there. Free kick taken. Ricocheted off the wall. I think it was Coutinho. He threaded through just a really delicate pass here. Götze with a beautiful little run, peeled off his man, and then a really tidy finish into the bottom corner. Courtois in goal with absolutely no chance. And we do take a lead here in a game that, to be frank, has been a little bit bland if we look at the stats. Chelsea yet to have a shot. We've had about 60% possession. They have parked the bus. But we've done okay. I'm going to tell the players I'm happy with how things are going at the moment. I'm then just going to encourage them further. As you can see, they're loving it in the changing room. As you can see, Sturridge struggling. 80% condition already. Obviously, his lack of match fitness is causing that to deteriorate slightly faster. I believe that's how it works. But certainly, yeah, his condition is going to mean that he does need to come off, by about the 60th minute. So if we could get an extra goal in that time, that'd be fantastic. Otherwise, we're going to perhaps be looking to Embolo or Barbosa off the bench. I'm not sure if Barbosa's on the bench for today's game. Of course, he's been out for 2 months himself. But anyway, we need to defend here. Van Ginkel, ball in. Icardi will score. And, well, I said I didn't really want to take Sturridge off if we needed a goal. We now do need a goal. Embolo, get your tracksuit off, my son. You are probably going to be coming onto the pitch here. Ball in. Van Ginkel picks up and then just plays it across to Icardi. I do want to, if we could just go back. I've just screwed this up, haven't I? I just want to go to the actual goal. I don't like to openly criticise players, but I am going to question you 3 defenders. Klein, Zuma, and I assume it's Sacco there. I can't click the guy behind. All 3 of you have gone to the near post there and no one's gone to Icardi. It's not great, boys. It's not great. That's going to make it 1-1. Chelsea's second shot of the game goes in. Look at the stats. We've only had 1 shot on target. That is bloody awful. Hopefully we can turn that around. Hopefully. We've got a set piece here. Henderson whips it in. Nice ball in. Cleared away. Only as far as Danny Sturridge. Puts it out wide to Henderson. A ball into Coutinho. Cuts inside. Can he tramp it? He can't. Keeper parries it away. I really wanted him just to hammer it across the 6-yard box there with players chasing back and try and convert something. Sturridge's condition isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. When it gets to 70, we're going to take him off and maybe make some other changes. As you can see, 67 minutes in. I'm going to make the change now, I think. I'm going to bring on Embolo for Sturridge. He's not 100% match fit. Looking at the ratings, he's not had the best game back, so we'll let him off the hook. He's been out for a little while. I'm also going to take off Jordan Henderson, I think, and bring on Yuri Tielemans, just to give us some fresher legs in midfield. Tielemans, just a very fast and athletic player. And I think that's going to be quite useful for us here in this game. With Chelsea playing so deep, we need to have some pace. We need to have some movement. And Tielemans is that kind of player who, coming on off the bench with 15 minutes left, he's got the speed to terrify defenders, particularly playing as a box-to-box midfielder, going to be able to get around the pitch. And I'm hoping that extra energy he's going to bring is going to make a difference. But as you can see here, well, there's 7 minutes left. And it's still 1-1. Last change I'm going to make, I'm going to bring on Firmino. I'm going to take off Mario Götze. He did get that goal, but besides that, he's not had the best game in the world. Just going to put, some more fresh legs in that midfield of ours. Hopefully get some good movement going. But unfortunately for us, it's looking like this could finish 1-1, which wouldn't be the worst result in the world. It would guarantee that we stay top of the league, and it's certainly better than losing. It just really makes the game against Arsenal coming up in the next episode that little bit more juicy and that little bit more important. And I'm afraid that's going to be all she wrote for this game, I hope, unless they're going to score a minute into extra time, which isn't going to happen. Klein's going to boot this up and it's going to be given as full time, I think it is. 1-1 at Anfield. Not the worst result in the world. You know, a draw away, at home against Chelsea. I'm going to tell the players I wasn't happy with it. Looking at it here, actually, interestingly enough, Tottenham closing the gap too. Looks like Arsenal must have slipped up. Oh no, they didn't play. I wonder when Arsenal play. I guess we'll go forward for that game. I feel like this is a recurring theme, Arsenal playing the next day. Well, actually, I don't know if they are playing the next day. It's going to be transfer deadline day too, so the processing time's going to take absolutely forever. No, they haven't got a game. In fact, they beat Stoke in the Capital One Cup, so their game comes in a little bit of time. However, as you can see here, we're going to be taking them on soon. And as you can see, they've got a fairly packed schedule going into our game. It'll be interesting to see if they rotate players for that Southampton game, or if they're tired coming into the game against us. But anyway, that's going to wrap up today's episode, guys. Slightly longer episode. Let me know, would you sign Icardi? What would you do in my situation? We have money to spend. I kind of want a long-term solution to kind of our striker position. Lacazette and Sturridge are good players, but they're not world-class players. And I feel like Dybala could really be the player to inject quality into our side. Looking at our form here, not the best. As you can see, we've not won in our last 3. We really need to turn that around. Defensively, we've not been good. We've not had a clean sheet in 4, which is pretty rare by our standards. You can see here, we've been very good defensively throughout the year. Just the last few games have let us down. I mean, they've not been easy games by any means, but that Newcastle game could come back to bite us in the arse. Anyway, that is going to wrap up everything from me, guys. Next episode will be that Arsenal game. Absolutely massive tie. Hopefully I'll see you guys for that. And other than that, guys, it is me, Jack, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.